खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम दे विच आप सब दा स्वागत है जी आयां नूं।
Khabran Da Lekha October 23rd, 2024 has been sponsored by Hanif Litigation. Any criminal or regulatory law matters, contact lawyer Shahid Hanif at 604-626-3144. Hanif Litigation. EB humbled but ready to go back to work in first public appearance since election night. BC NDP leader David Eby says the province's unofficial voting results delivered a strong message, and if he assumes leadership, he won't take anything for granted. Eby made his first public appearance since the election Tuesday afternoon in Vancouver, addressing the fatalities and missing persons related to the atmospheric river over the weekend. When asked how he felt about the election results or lack thereof, Eby said he's heard what he believes British Columbians are saying: we need to do better. If the counts come back for a minority government or for an NDP majority government, we are going to put those lessons into practice right away, working for British Columbians and get to work for them because they can't afford to wait, Eby said. By current count, the BC NDP have secured 46 seats while the BC Conservatives have secured 45. At least 47 seats are required to form a majority government, but two ridings are still facing a recount, with the final count expected between October 26 and October 28. As it stands, the BC NDP appear to have lost 11 seats and 5 former cabinet ministers. Eby said Tuesday it's likely he'll need to support for other MLAs, and he hasn't opposed meeting with the BC Green Party, whose elected members he claims have said they aren't yet ready to engage in those conversations. Nothing's off the table. We'll have those conversations and we'll find a way to make the legislature work for British Columbians on the priorities that they sent us back to Victoria to work on. Eby commended BC Conservatives leader John Rustard on his effective campaign messages on the subjects of healthcare and public safety. British Columbians want their emergency rooms open and running. They want their family doctor, and anything less is unacceptable. When it comes to their downtowns, they want to feel safe with their kids going downtown when they run a business downtown, said Eby. That's a lesson that I take, that we don't do enough and we've got to do more to make sure that we're supporting those kinds of communities, those kinds of strong public services. On election night, Rustard said that he believes more seats may flip in favor of the Conservatives, as there's just a couple of seats within 20-30 votes. If the party secures a minority government, Rustard promised to challenge the BC NDP relentlessly. As the Conservative Party of British Columbia, if we are in that situation, we are going to make it as difficult as possible for this NDP to do any more destruction of this province, Rustard said. Eby says his party is preparing for every possibility. Whatever the final configuration looks like after the count, we are doing the work right now to be ready to go on day one, said Eby.
इलैक्शन वाली रात तो बाद कल डेविड एबी एनडीपी पार्टी के मुखी का सामना ਜਦੋਂ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛੇ ਗਏ ਕਿ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਨੇ ਹਜੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਅਕੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਹੈ ਕਿ BC ਨਿਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਬਿਹਤਰੀਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ। याद रहे इस वक्त ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ सीटां ने 46 सीटां ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿੱਤ BC NDP ਦੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ 45 सीटां ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿੱਤ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਦੀ ਹੈ। ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਪਾਸ 2 सीटां ਨੇ, 2 सीटां ਦੇ ਅਜੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਪੁਖਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੁਖੀ ਦਾ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਕੀਦੇ ਨੇ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਰੂਪ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਹੋਣ ਅਸੀਂ NDP ਨੂੰ ਸੂਬੇ ਦੀ ਹੋਰ ਤਬਾਹੀ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਰੋਕਣ ਦੀ ਹਰ ਸੰਭਵ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਯਤਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਉਧਰੋਂ ਡੇਵਿਡ ਐਬੀ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਸੂਬੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਹੈ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਬਿਹਤਰੀਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ BC NDP ਦੇ ਡੇਵਿਡ ਐਬੀ ਨੇ 11 ਜਿਹੜੇ MLAs ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 5 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੂਰਨ ਨਤੀਜੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ 26 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 28 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਆਸ ਹੈ।
Bank of Canada delivers half percentage point rate cut, bringing it to 3.75%. The Bank of Canada delivered a supersized interest rate cut Wednesday in response to the recent decline in inflation, bringing its key policy rate down by half a percent point. With annual price growth now around 2%, the central bank says its job has shifted from lowering inflation to maintaining it around the inflation target. We took a bigger step today because inflation is now back to the 2% target and we want to keep it close to the target, Governor McCallum has said in his opening statement. Canada's inflation rate fell to 1.6% in September, solidifying forecasters' expectations for a larger rate cut. Bigger cuts mean the rate can be lowered faster. Wednesday marked the central bank's fourth consecutive interest rate cut since June. Its policy rate now stands at 3.75%, down from a height of 5%. The Bank of Canada attributes the slowdown in price growth to shelter price inflation easing, supply outpacing demand in the economy, and global oil pricing falling. It's now forecasting inflation will remain around the 2% target throughout its projection horizon, which extends to 2026. High interest rates have sent a chill through the Canadian economy, slowing growth and loosening the labor market. The central bank says in its monetary policy report that while layoffs have remained stable, businesses have pulled back on hiring, which has disproportionately affected young people and newcomers. As interest rates continue to come down, the Bank of Canada is projecting economic growth to pick back up in 2025 and 2026. McCallum said the central bank expects cutting its key interest rate further so long as the economy evolves in line with its forecast. High inflation and interest rates have been heavy burden to Canadians, with inflation now back to target and interest rates continuing to come down. Family, businesses and communities should feel some relief, McCallum said. The Bank of Canada's next interest rate announcement is scheduled for December 11th.
ਬੈਂਕ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 80% ਦੀ ਕਮੀ ਲਿਆ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਤੇ ਐਲਾਨਨਾਮੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ 3.75 ਜਿਹੜੀ % ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੈ। ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮਹਿੰਗਾਈ ਦੀ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ 1.6% ਸੀ ਔਰ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 11 ਦਸੰਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਅਗਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਟੌਤੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਨੇ, ਨਿਰਧਾਰਤ ਡੇਟ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਪੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਟੌਤੀ ਆਉਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰੀਅਲ ਅਸਟੇਟ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਹਲਚਲ ਆਏਗੀ ਔਰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਤਨੀ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਏਗੀ, ਪਰ 2025 ਤੇ 26 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਰਥਿਕਤਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਲਾਰਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਮਿਲੇਗਾ।
Trudeau says Liberals strong and united despite caucus dissent. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the Liberal Party is strong and united despite efforts from within his caucus to oust him as leader. While he wouldn't stop to take questions from reporters, Trudeau made the comment as caucus members made their way out of exceptionally long and high-stakes meeting today, during which many of them were set to confront the Prime Minister and ask him to step down. The highly anticipated meeting took place behind closed doors. It came after a group of MPs had been organizing behind the scenes for the last 2 weeks to ask the Prime Minister to reconsider his political future at the helm of the Liberal Party. It's unclear exactly how many MPs are part of the effort to oust him, though sources involved in organizing a letter says at least 20, largely from Atlantic Canada and southwestern Ontario. Many MPs and cabinet ministers have also insisted they support the Prime Minister. While some have been more overt in their dissent, including long-time Liberal MP Sean Casey, who confirmed on Monday he signed a letter asking Trudeau to resign. Some have tiptoed around the issue, refusing to directly say whether they support the Prime Minister and saying instead this is an opportunity for a caucus discussion. On his way out of the meeting, MP Nathaniel Erskine Smith wouldn't describe the tone of the discussion when asked by reporters. I think there's absolutely a path forward where the Prime Minister can turn things around, he said. I think if ultimately we throw everything at the wall and he's getting tuned out, that's a different story. I don't think we're there yet. He also said it's up to Trudeau to reflect on what he hears from caucus and come back with a plan. I think it's really important when you have so many colleagues that are expressing frustration, and I've expressed frustration over the years at different times. It's very important that that feedback is listened to. The Liberals have faced lackluster polling numbers for more than a year, sometimes trailing behind the Conservatives by more than 20 points. Plus, two recent significant by-election losses in traditional safe Liberal seats, coupled with the end of the supply and confidence agreement with the NDP, have led to a more precocious parliament. Minority government dynamics are in play, as is a looming ultimatum from the bloc cubicles to potentially work with the other parties to topple the Liberals if they don't ensure two bloc-led bills become law. I think caucus is nervous because of the polling that's been constantly going down in favor of Liberals, said Liberal MP Ken MacDonald on his way into the meeting on Wednesday, adding he hopes to stay in caucus until the next election, at which point he will not be running again. He said voting with the opposition is an option going forward, depending on the results from today's meeting, but that's not something he's currently considering. MP Wayne Long, also on his way into the meeting, said the important by-election losses in Toronto and Montreal prove the party needs change. While he said he respects caucus confidentiality, he was expecting a robust, frank and difficult discussion. I'm looking forward to expressing my views. I don't think it's a secret to anybody that my views are that we do need a change in the leadership, he said, but in the end, caucus majority will rule and I'll be able to look in the mirror and say my piece and we'll see what happens. Trudeau arrived for the meeting an hour and a half early with his suit jacket slung over his shoulder, smiling at reporters and wishing them a good day, though he didn't stop for questions. He has insisted he'll lead the party into the next election, and when asked directly on Tuesday whether he's worried about his leadership, he replied simply no. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, meanwhile, said on Tuesday she's more confident than ever based on the conversation she's had in the last couple days that the vast majority of Liberal MPs support the Prime Minister. Some cabinet ministers, including Immigration Minister Mark Miller and Employment Minister Randy Bosanault, have tried to shift the focus, saying it's more important to take aim at the opposition Conservatives than engage in party infighting. There's what you call it? Someplace drama going on right now, Bosnell told reporters ahead of Wednesday's meeting, and that takes us away from the number one job, which is focusing on Canadians and focusing on the important policies, but also on showing the really clear contrast between our government, our party Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. Any minute spent on this garbage is a minute that's not spent on Pierre Poilievre, and he wants to do this country, Miller said on Tuesday. The decision on whether to step down is ultimately up to Trudeau, with no formal mechanism in place that caucus can use to force him out. Wednesday caucus meeting typically take about 2 hours, though today's ran for nearly 3.5.
ਅੱਜ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਦੀ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਐਮਪੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬੜੇ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਲਗਾਈਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਸਨ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਗੇ। ਕਾਰਨ ਸੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ 2 ਕੁ ਹਫ਼ਤਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 20 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਸਨ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਨਸੂਆਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਅਹੁਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਰੁਖਸਤ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਬਤੌਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲੀਡਰ ਲਾਂਭੇ ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਮੰਗ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਚਰਚਾ ਕਿਤਨੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਛਿੜਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ। ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਔਸਤਨ 2 ਘੰਟੇ ਦੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਆ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 3.5 ਘੰਟੇ ਚੱਲੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਹੁਦਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਕਰਾਰ ਰੱਖਣਗੇ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤਰਕ ਵਿਤਰਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰਸ ਤੇ ਐਮਪੀਸ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਵੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੈ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਹੋਰ ਬਿਹਤਰੀਨ ਕਾਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰੀ ਨੇ ਸਮਰਪਿਤ ਕਰਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ, ਨਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਨੁਕਸਾਨਦਾਇਕ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ। ਮੁੱਖ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਟਰੂਡੋ, ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਇਰਾਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਬਤੌਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲੀਡਰ ਇਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਅਹੁਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਪਰੇ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ।
IIO called in after man shot killed by police in Penticton. The RCMP says the province police oversight body is investigating after a man was shot and killed by a police officer in Penticton on Tuesday. Mounties say just after 3 p.m. on October 22nd, the Penticton RCMP received multiple 911 calls about a man acting erratically and reportedly waving a knife around on Government Street in Penticton. Officers attended and an interaction occurred between one officer and the suspect, resulting in the officer discharging their duty pistol. BC RCMP Sergeant Chris Clark said in a statement on Wednesday. The man was provided immediate first aid before being taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries, however, later died. Police say the officer was also taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries and has been released. The Independent Investigators Office of BC has now been called in to investigate. The IIO is a civilian-led body that investigates incidents of death or serious harm that may have resulted from inactions of police officers.
ਪੈਂਟਿਕਟਨ ਵਿਖੇ ਕੱਲ 3 ਵਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਕਰੀਬ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਛੁਰਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਅਲੱਗ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹਰਕਤਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਬੂ ਕਰਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਬੂ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਗੋਲੀ ਚੱਲੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਦਮ ਤੋੜ ਗਿਆ, ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਫਸਰ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੱਟਾਂ ਵੱਜੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ। ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੀ ਤਫਤੀਸ਼ IIO ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। IIO ਉਹਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਫਤੀਸ਼ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਕੀ ਨਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਕੀ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੌਤ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ।
Where to celebrate Diwali around the Lower Mainland this weekend? Diwali, the annual week-long festival of lights, is back in full force around the Lower Mainland this weekend. Known for its Hindu origins, Diwali is celebrated in many South Asian communities around the world with various religious events throughout this week. According to the Hindu calendar, Diwali falls on the 15th day of the month of Kartik, which is known as the darkest night of the year. This year, that day coincidentally lands on Thursday, October 31st on Halloween. City of Vancouver event Diwali celebration at Marine Gateway 2024 at Diwali Festival, 450 Southwest Marine Gateway on Saturday, October 26 from 1 to 4 p.m. According to Diwali Fest website, this event will include complimentary henna, diya painting and rangoli art for kids. Diwali in downtown Vancouver 2024 by Diwali Fest, Roundhouse Community Centre, October 27 from 2 to 5 p.m. According to Diwali Fest's website, the event aims to celebrate the Festival of Lights in Vancouver with South Asian music and dance performance, Diwali arts and crafts and henna. City of Surrey, Diwali Mela, Mirage Banquet Hall, 17767 64th Avenue, Sunday, October 7. No time specified by organizers yet. What to expect? According to the organizers, this event will have vendors that will create an unforgettable experience filled with music, dance, food and festivities. City of Burnaby, Diwali at the Mat, ground level near Fossil at Metropolis in Metro Vancouver at Metrotown. Saturday, October 25th to Sunday, October 26th, various activities available between 12 to 4 p.m. What to expect? Website states that people can enjoy discounted chai from 12 to 4 p.m. Free henna designs for shoppers from 12 to 4 p.m. Indian sweets available for the purchase and Bollywood dance performance on October 26th between 12 to 2 p.m. on the ground level near Yogan Furs. Port of Coquitlam. Diwali Festival of Lights in Port Coquitlam, hosted by the Tri-Cities Chamber of Commerce. Port Coquitlam Community Centre, October 26, Saturday, various activities are offered starting between 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. What to expect according to the Tri-Cities Chamber of Commerce events page? The celebration will showcase the diversity of South Asian arts and culture. There will be free drop-in workshops at the basketball court and include PT dance Bolly Jam from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., a Kathak dance workshop from 10:45 a.m. to 12 p.m. and free art workshops and a Diwali market starting at noon and free cultural performances beginning at 2:30 p.m. What does a typical Diwali schedule look like? Well, there are many various of the events during this long weekend. During this week-long celebrations in different communities and individual families ranging from 5 to 7 days, a typical schedule of events celebrated by a majority of Hindus at home globally includes Dhanteras, day 1, marks the beginning of the festivities, where families gather to worship Lord Kuber and Goddess Lakshmi. Day 2, Choti Diwali, Naraka Chautradashi. Choti Diwali translates to small Diwali. It aims to honor Lord Krishna's triumph against a demon called Narakasura. Day 3, Diwali. Deepawali on Tihar is in other communities. This day marks a very important day in Hindu mythology where Lord Krishna, Mata Sita and Lord Ram's brother Lakshman returned to their kingdom after 14 years of exile. People decorate their homes with diyas, rangoli and other lights. Day 4, Govardhan Puja. People get together and worship the Govardhan mountain because it is said that Lord Krishna rescued people of Mathura in a former event by lifting the mountain. Day 5, Bhai Dooj. Bhai Tikka, Bhai Beej or Bhaiya Dooj is in other communities the last day of Diwali, where brothers and sisters celebrate their relationship while conducting puja, worship, making promises to protect each other and exchange gifts.
ਦੀਵਾਲੀ ਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਹਫਤਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਪੂਰੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਕੇਡਿਊਲ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ, ਸਰੀ, ਕੋਕਟਲਮ ਤੇ ਬਰਨਵੀ ਵਿਖੇ, ਨਿਊ ਵੈਸਟ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਵਿਖੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਵਕਤ ਸਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੀਵਾਲੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਮਨਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਦੀਵਾਲੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਤਿਉਹਾਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਪੂਰਾ ਹਫਤਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਧਨਤੇਰਸ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ, ਦੂਸਰੇ ਦਿਨ ਛੋਟੀ ਦੀਵਾਲੀ, ਤੀਸਰੇ ਦਿਨ ਫਿਰ ਵੱਡੀ ਦੀਵਾਲੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਚੌਥੇ ਦਿਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪੰਜਵੇਂ ਦਿਨ ਟਿੱਕਾ ਭਾਈ ਦੂਜ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤਿਉਹਾਰ ਦੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਿਉਹਾਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਬੜੀ ਧੂਮਧਾਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਨਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਔਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਪੂਰਾ ਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਹਫਤਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਭਰਪੂਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ।
Surrey plans to build pier for ash scattering along Fraser River. The city of Surrey is moving forward with plans to build a pier designated for people to scatter their loved ones' ashes along the Fraser River. On Monday, City Council voted unanimously in favor of going ahead with the idea that Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke says has been disappointedly politicized. This is something that is really important to our community. This is about life and this is about death. Currently, the city is evaluating 2 potential locations for the Broadwalk's construction. The Surrey Public Wharf, estimated to cost around $2.5 million, and Brownsville Bar Park with a projected cost of approximately $3.8 million. Locke says she hasn't been approached by business people who would like to contribute to the pier's development. As for the next step, council has tasked Parks and Recreation staff with seeking formal approval from both the provincial and federal government. Once we get that information back, we will move forward. Locke emphasized that cultural sensitivity and safety will be a top priority throughout the project. It's incredibly important that the pier is safe. The one thing about the Fraser River is sometimes it looks like a lazy river. It is not. Park staff is expected to present their final plan to the council in 2025. A scattering garden does already exist at Surrey's Sunnyside Lawn Cemetery, but local laws prohibit scattering ashes in public parks.
ਸਰੀ ਵਿਖੇ ਅਸਥੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਲ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਹ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੀਅਰ ਦੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੋਮਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਆ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੀਆਰ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਮਨਸੂਬੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ 1.5 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਤੇ ਦੂਸਰਾ 3.8 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਲਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਆਸ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਕੁ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਪੇਸ਼ਕਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਮੇਅਰ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਡਾ ਲੋਕ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਾਜਿਕ ਸੈਂਸਿਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਔਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਾਇਦੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੁੱਖ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਰਾਜਨੀਤਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੰਗਤ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਚੜਨ ਨਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ जावे।
इसी के साथ हमें दीजिएगा इजाजत। खबरा दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम से until next time, goodbye and be safe।